Have you ever wondered how just 15 calm minutes a day could change your English and your life? Welcome to the Gentle English Podcast. In today's episode, we'll talk about how just 15 minutes a day can improve your English and slowly shape a better, more confident version of you. Before we begin, take a deep breath, relax your shoulders, and allow yourself to listen without pressure. You do not need to understand every word. You do not need to repeat anything perfectly. Just listen and let the language come to you naturally. Many people believe that improving English fluency requires long hours of study, expensive courses, or living in an English-speaking country. This belief stops many learners before they even begin. They feel overwhelmed. They feel tired. They feel like English is too difficult or too far away. But fluency does not come from doing everything at once. Fluency grows quietly, slowly, and gently through small daily habits. And one of the most powerful habits you can build is listening. Listening is where fluency begins. Before we speak fluently, before we think fluently, before we feel confident, we must first become comfortable with the sound of English. This is why podcasts are such a powerful tool. When you listen regularly, your brain starts to recognize patterns. You begin to notice how words connect, how sentences flow, and how ideas are expressed naturally. You may not notice it at first, but one day you realize that English feels less foreign and more familiar. Think about how you learned your first language. You did not study grammar books as a child. You did not memorize vocabulary lists. You listened. You listened to people talk every day. You listened to stories, conversations, questions, and emotions. Your brain slowly absorbed the language without effort. Learning English as an adult can feel different, but the brain still learns best through exposure and repetition. Gentle listening recreates that natural process. 15 minutes a day may not sound like much. Some people think it is too little to matter, but 15 minutes every day is more powerful than 2 hours once a week. When you listen daily, you build consistency. You train your brain to stay connected to English. You remove fear because the time feels manageable. You tell yourself, I can do this. And that feeling is important. Confidence grows from small promises you keep to yourself. When you listen to English in a calm way, without pressure, your brain stays open. Stress blocks learning. Fear blocks memory. But relaxation allows language to flow in naturally. This is why the Gentle English Podcast is designed to be slow, clear, and comforting. You are not being tested here. You are not being judged. You are simply listening. As you listen, you may notice that some words are familiar and some are new. This is normal. Do not stop when you hear a new word. Do not panic. Let it pass. Often meaning becomes clear through context, and even if it does not, that word will come back again in another episode, in another sentence, in another moment. Repetition is how the brain learns without effort. Many English learners worry too much about pronunciation. They think they must sound perfect, but fluency is not about sounding like a native speaker. Fluency is about being understood and feeling comfortable expressing yourself. Pronunciation improves naturally when you listen regularly. Your mouth learns the rhythm of English. Your ears learn the stress and intonation. Over time, speaking becomes smoother without forcing it. Another common fear is grammar. Learners often stop themselves while speaking because they are afraid of making mistakes. But grammar is not something you need to control consciously while speaking. Grammar becomes automatic when you hear correct sentences again and again. Listening trains your brain to recognize what sounds right. When you listen enough, you begin to speak correctly without thinking about rules. This is why passive listening is powerful. You can listen while walking, resting, cooking, or before sleeping. English becomes part of your daily life, not a difficult task you avoid. When English is part of your routine, it stops feeling like a subject and starts feeling like a tool. You may be wondering how 15 minutes can really change your life. The change does not happen suddenly, it happens quietly. After a few weeks, you may notice that you understand more than before. After a few months, you may find yourself thinking in English sometimes. One day, you may speak and realize that words come out more easily. These moments feel small, but they add up to something big. Fluency is not a destination, it is a process. There is no moment where you wake up and say, "Now I am fluent." Instead, fluency shows itself in small ways. You feel less nervous. You understand more without translating. You enjoy listening. You feel proud of yourself for not giving up. These are signs that your English is growing. It is important to be patient with yourself. Language learning takes time, but time will pass whether you learn or not. The question is how you choose to use a small part of that time. 15 minutes a day is a gift you give to your future self. It is a way of saying, "I believe in my ability to grow." Some days you may feel motivated, some days you may feel tired. On tired days, just listen. You do not need to study. You do not need to repeat. Just let English play in the background. Even passive exposure helps. Even when you feel like you are not improving, your brain is still learning quietly. This gentle approach removes pressure and builds trust with yourself. You stop forcing progress and start allowing it. And when learning feels safe, you stay consistent. Consistency is the real secret to fluency. As this episode continues, we will keep exploring how gentle listening can reshape the way you learn English, how small daily habits can build confidence, and how your relationship with English can change from fear to comfort. For now, just stay with the sound of my voice. Let the words flow past you. You are doing enough just by being here and listening. As you continue listening today, allow yourself to settle even more deeply into the rhythm of English. There is no goal you need to reach by the end of this episode. There is no level you must achieve. The only thing that matters right now is that you are present, listening, and allowing the language to become familiar in your mind. Many English learners think progress should be fast and visible. They expect big changes in a short time. When that does not happen, they feel disappointed and stop. But real language growth often happens quietly, beneath the surface. Your brain is building connections, even when you do not notice them. Every time you listen, you strengthen those connections a little more. Think of learning English like growing a plant. You do not see change every day, but you still water it. You still place it in sunlight. You trust that something is happening. Listening to English is like watering that plant. 15 minutes a day may seem small, but over time, it creates strong roots. Those roots are comprehension, confidence, and comfort with language. One reason many people struggle with English is that they only interact with it in stressful situations. Exams, interviews, presentations, or conversations where they feel judged. When English is always connected to pressure, the brain learns to associate it with fear, but gentle listening changes that relationship. English becomes something safe, something familiar, something you can enjoy. When you listen to English regularly, you begin to notice how ideas are expressed simply. You realize that fluent speakers do not always use complicated words. They use clear words. They repeat ideas. They pause. This realization is freeing. You stop trying to sound smart and start trying to be clear. and clarity is the heart of fluency. Another quiet benefit of listening is that it improves your intuition. You begin to feel when a sentence sounds natural or unnatural. This feeling is more powerful than memorizing grammar rules. When you trust your intuition, speaking becomes easier. You stop overthinking and start communicating. You may notice that sometimes your mind wanders while listening. This is normal. When that happens, gently bring your attention back. Do not criticize yourself. Even partial listening helps. Your brain still catches sounds, rhythm, and familiar words. Learning does not stop just because your focus drifts for a moment. It is also important to listen at a level that feels comfortable. If the English is too fast or too difficult, your brain may shut down. But when the language is gentle and understandable, your brain stays open. This is where learning happens best. This podcast is designed to sit in that comfortable space where you understand enough to feel relaxed, but still hear new expressions that slowly expand your ability. As days pass and listening becomes a habit, you may notice changes outside your listening time. You may recognize words more quickly when watching videos. You may understand parts of conversations that once felt impossible. You may feel less nervous when someone speaks English to you. These changes are signs that your listening habit is working. Listening also helps you develop natural sentence structure. When you hear sentences again and again, your brain stores them as patterns. Later, when you speak, those patterns come out naturally. You are not translating word by word. You are recalling complete ideas. This is one of the biggest differences between slow, difficult speech and fluent speech. Many learners ask when they should start speaking. The answer is simple. You can start any time, but do not force it. Speaking will come more naturally when listening has prepared your brain. Some days, you may feel like repeating a sentence out loud. Other days, you may prefer to just listen. Both are fine. Fluency grows when learning feels safe and flexible. It is also helpful to listen to the same content more than once. Repetition builds confidence. The first time you listen, you may focus on understanding. The second time, you may notice pronunciation. The third time, you may feel the rhythm of the language. Each listen gives you something new, even if the content is familiar. You do not need many different resources. One gentle podcast, listened to regularly, can be more powerful than many materials used once. Familiarity builds comfort. Comfort builds confidence. Confidence leads to fluency. As you continue your English journey, remember that comparison is unnecessary. Your pace is your own. Some people improve quickly, some people improve slowly. What matters is that you continue. Even on days when you feel tired, listening keeps the connection alive. It reminds your brain that English is part of your life. 15 minutes a day is not just about learning English, it is about creating a quiet space for yourself. A moment to slow down, a moment to focus gently, a moment to grow without pressure. This habit can change how you see learning and even how you see yourself. You are not behind. You are not failing. You are learning in a way that respects your pace and your energy. That is something to be proud of. Let the idea settle that fluency is not something you chase, but something you allow. Many learners feel they must push harder, study more, and correct every mistake. But often, progress appears when we stop forcing it. Gentle listening gives your mind permission to relax, and relaxed minds learn more deeply. By now, you may notice that listening feels easier than when you first started. Your ears recognize familiar sounds. Your brain no longer feels tense when it hears English. This comfort is not small. It is a sign that your relationship with English is changing, and relationships matter in learning. When you feel safe with a language, you are more willing to use it. Language is not only about words, it is about rhythm, emotion, and intention. When you listen regularly, you learn how English carries feelings. You hear how a calm sentence sounds different from an excited one. You notice pauses, softness, and emphasis. These elements are difficult to learn from books, but they are absorbed naturally through listening. 15 minutes a day may feel simple, but simplicity is powerful. It removes resistance. It removes excuses. It fits into real life. And because it fits, you return to it again and again. Over weeks and months, those minutes become hours of exposure. Hours become confidence. Confidence becomes fluency. You may begin to notice that you understand meaning without translating. This is an important shift. Translation is slow and tiring. Understanding directly is smooth and natural. When this happens, even for short moments, your brain is thinking in English. This is not something you force. It happens naturally when listening is consistent. There may still be days when English feels difficult. That is normal. Progress is not a straight line. Some days feel clear, some days feel cloudy. What matters is that you continue to show up gently. On hard days, listening is still enough. Even hearing English quietly in the background keeps the connection alive. As your listening improves, speaking often follows quietly. You may find yourself forming sentences without planning. You may answer questions more quickly. You may feel less afraid of silence while thinking. These are signs of growth. They may seem small, but they are real. Remember that fluency does not mean knowing every word. Even native speakers do not know every word. Fluency means being able to express ideas, feelings, and needs in a way that feels natural to you. Your English does not need to be perfect to be meaningful. It is also important to trust your own voice. Your accent is not a problem. It is part of your story. Clear communication matters more than sounding like someone else. Listening helps you become clearer, not different. You are not losing yourself by learning English. You are adding a new way to express who you already are. This gentle daily habit can also change how you feel about learning in general. You may become more patient with yourself. You may stop comparing your progress to others. You may begin to enjoy the process instead of rushing toward an invisible finish line. When English becomes something you return to calmly each day, it stops being heavy. It becomes familiar. It becomes a companion in your routine. This is how language stays with you for life, not just for a test or a goal. As this episode comes to an end, remind yourself that you are doing something meaningful. You are investing in yourself quietly, steadily, and kindly. 15 minutes a day is not small when it is done with intention. Thank you for listening to the Gentle English Podcast. You're always welcome to return to this episode tomorrow or anytime you need gentle practice. Listening again helps English feel more natural and familiar, which is how fluency grows. Rest well, and I'll be here with you again very soon.